you're going to get what you asked for. I mean, you can only back us up into a corner so many different ways before we strike. I'm not saying that's what I want, but you can only push and push and push and take so much before someone's going to strike, because you're threatening every avenue of our lives right now. This is terrible. This is terrible.
Fundamentally altering our culture in the United States of America. You're seeing people calling for no-fly lists on commercial airlines for anyone who supported outwardly President Donald Trump. I suppose my name may be added to one of those lists, being such an outspoken supporter of our former president. You're seeing people advocate for taking away licensure for lawyers, teachers, doctors, if they at all are an outspoken conservative. We're destroying livelihoods, we're destroying relationships, we're destroying reputations, and obviously we've degraded this concept of free speech in a very, very double standard fashion.
To turn down the capability of these conservative influencers to reach these huge audiences. There are people on YouTube, for example, that have a larger audience than daytime CNN, and they are extremely radical and pushing extremely radical views. And so it's up to the Facebooks and YouTubes in particular to think about whether or not they want to be effectively cable networks for disinformation. And then we're going to have to figure out the OANN and Newsmax problem. That these companies have freedom of speech, but I'm not sure we need Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, and such to be bringing them.
The complaint reads that during the 2016 election, Mackey used his now disabled Twitter accounts to convince Democratic voters to vote early. Text candidate's first name to 59925 today. Paid for by candidate for president, must be 18 years old or older to vote.
And it's analogous to someone kind of setting up a voting booth in a public place.
It's good too. Good. This one arrives at
This is the lady who was seen in a
Why are they kicking off? Why?
Freedom of speech?
Yeah.
Just for saying that? That's ridiculous. Get off the plane. Get off the plane.
I have the right.
You have the
by
right
my
freedom.
constitution.
Freedom of speech. Get off the plane. Freedom.
Congratulations, Trumpancy. They were waiting for you. Trump 2020, Trump 2020, Civil War. No more, you're going to be taking cold shower with Baba in jail. And Trump 2. Bye, Felicia. Bye-bye.
There were 68 individuals arrested yesterday evening.
And Trump 2. Bye, Felicia.
And this threat from domestic violence extremists is much more challenging, I believe, than it was in terms of going after foreign terrorists. The domestic violence extremists are much more pervasive. Their numbers are much larger. When we were going after al-Qaeda or other types of terrorist groups, cells here in the United States, their numbers were in the single digits of dozens and was finding needles in a haystack. Here, there are a lot of haystacks with a lot of needles in them. They have the wherewithal. They already have the weapons that, if they so choose to use them, they can, in fact, carry out these deadly attacks.
My colleague Jim Sciutto, he's covered international terrorism for 20 years and says that the parallels to the domestic terror threat are frightening. And he points to, and I quote here, radicalization online, demonization of the enemy to justify violence, draw to a cause greater than themselves, devotion to a cultish leader. That said, are we doing enough to combat this threat?
This is the way law enforcement looks at the domestic terror threat now, as equal or greater than international terrorism. If we compared that to a U.S. politician propagating Islamist terrorist thought, materials, lies, etc. Imagine the reaction. And yet, sadly, there's still a partisan reaction to this, some denying that the threat is real and that the lie behind the threat is dangerous.
Amazon has kicked Parler off of its web hosting services. That move follows decisions from both Apple and Google to remove Parler from their app stores, part of a continuing push by social media firms to combat misinformation and incitements to violence on their platforms.
Cases in Republican states.
What's great is like COVID is spiking in all the red states right now, so that's great.
Why do you think so?
Because either those people are going to come out to vote for Trump, go to the red states, or a lot of them are sick and dying.
Beller is heard talking about re-education camps for the children of Republican voters.
Then when Biden wins, we'll go through all the Republican voters, and Homeland Security will take the children away. Okay? And we'll put them into re-education camps.